Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from livestream.travel eTurbo News in Honolulu. And with me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. And looking at the weather here in Honolulu, it's a nice sunny day, like most days are here recently. And I assume it's the same in College Station, Peter, isn't it?
Yes, we actually had Hawaii type weather. Last night it poured, it rained, the sun came up, the rain went away, and we had a beautiful sunny day. So the plants were really happy last night. They got lots of rain, and when the sun came up and it was time to go walking in the morning, we had sun. So it was the best of both worlds. Rain at night, sun during the day. You can't ask for more than that. The only thing we are lacking is a beach. So that would kind of, Hawaii will always beat us because you guys have a beach and we don't. Texas has a beach, but College Station doesn't.
Are you only like, how far are you from the beach? An hour and a half drive or so?
About with traffic to get, the closest beach is Galveston, and that's about 2.5 hours. Might be even 3. The problem is the beach, the southern Texas beaches are really nice. The beaches around Houston are not quite as pretty. But if you go 5 hours south of here to Padre Island, then the beaches are quite beautiful. But you have to go all the way down to Padre Island.
Okay, well, so, Texas is like its own country.
Yes, it is. And somebody recently said to me that they were going to go to East Texas to a meeting, and they wanted to go to Brownsville. And they said, it's just in the same state. I said, yes, but it's 8 hours away. And that's without stopping. That's 8 hours going 75 miles an hour and no stopping.
Yes, no, Texas, they like it big in Texas.
Yes, it's so big that if I drive from my house to California and I'm on the eastern side of Texas, half the drive is in Texas. And if I drive from my house to Chicago, half the drive is in Texas. So it gives you an idea just how big Texas is. It would be, you could put maybe, well, the Hawaiian Islands in total, I think, are 6,000 square miles. And Texas is 285,000 square miles. So you could put 10, 20, maybe 40 Hawaii, 60 Hawaii islands in Texas, and you'd still have room left over.
No, that's true. But did you know they're the extended Hawaiian Islands? It's all the nature reserve. No one lives there except wildlife. And that is actually quite big. That's thousands of miles. It's almost stretching, I think, 1,800 miles from Honolulu. So we have an extension here too, goes all the way to the Midway Island. So many people don't know that. It's federal territory, and as far as I know, it's under U.S. federal government control, and President Obama declared it the largest national protected area in the United States. But you cannot go there.
You and Guam, Hawaii and Guam should become one state, and then you could declare all the water in between Guam and Hawaii as part of Hawaiian territory.
Wouldn't the Chinese and the Russians love that?
Yeah, yes, go for that. I think.
You know, we have exercise. Russian and the Chinese Navy had a joint exercise here, about 2 hours actually. By ship, I mean, like just about 200-300 miles away from our coastline. And there is a permanent Russian spy ship stationed off the coast of Kauai, about 200 some miles in international waters. So we're watched here, I tell you that.
Yeah, and the fact that North Korea tested they at least say they tested a hypersonic missile means that within less than half an hour they could bomb Honolulu. So hopefully that won't happen, but you never know.
Well, let's hope that won't happen. We don't really need that.
But I think right now that's in the realm of possibility, and hopefully it won't happen. But what's I think more important is that this week, of course, we celebrated World Tourism Day, and in a sense, that's like kind of a new year. It's kind of like the Jewish New Year falls in September, so does the Tourism New Year, and even though we call it World Tourism Day, and we had many wonderful events that took place, I think it's also the end of a tourism year and the beginning of a new one. And so whenever you're at the end of a year and beginning of a new one, this is a good time to think about a little bit of the past and then really start facing the future. If assuming that September marks the beginning of the tourism year, and in a sense it does because the summer is over and we're now moving into the fall season, what were maybe in your mind two key issues that took place in the world of tourism last year? And then more importantly, what are going to be some of the issues that tourism will have to face next year, in this coming year?
Well, I'm afraid, Peter, it's the same issue. And I think there's only one big issue, what is COVID and everything what is related to COVID. And tourism worldwide has taken a hit like hardly any other industry in the world to COVID. So I think the hope for next year is to get out. And there are a few players in the world that are trying to make a difference, I guess. Saudi Arabia certainly is one of them, with spending billions of dollars for world tourism to get back on its feet. Of course, there's a selfish reason for this behind it as well. Saudi Arabia wants to become the center of the world of tourism. That's why they were bidding for the UNWTO to be located as the World Tourism Organization to be located in Saudi Arabia. This bid was not put on hold because of the United Nations Secretary General personally getting involved in it after Spain raised alarm in the United Nations. So tourism becomes a political toy as well. Then, of course, we have the WTTC already with a regional office together with UNWTO in Saudi Arabia. Maybe they want to host us, the World Tourism Network, one of these days. There's the money. It's money talks. That's what it is.
Well, I think there's more than that. I mean, I appreciate what the Saudis are doing with money, but I think we also have to look at the fact that the center of the world traditionally was the Middle East. And for a while, it kind of got off kilter, moved to Europe or to the Atlantic coast. But I think one of the things the Saudis are trying to do is really recenter tourism and put it really where tourism began. If you think about it, the first tours were, it took place in the Middle East. And I'm not talking about it in the 19th century. I'm talking about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. We see the Silk Road, which passed through parts of the Middle East, from China to really the Middle East, eventually goes to Europe. So I understand, the perspective of the Saudis saying the time has come to try to recenter tourism in its traditional location. Now, will that happen? I don't know. Will Saudi Arabia become the true center of tourism in the world? Maybe they have a lot of work still to do to get there, but I understand the concept, the theory, the logic to it. I think more importantly, the world of tourism is going to have to come up in this coming year with some real issues. One, we have to go beyond, and I want to emphasize, I'm pro-vaccine. I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm pro-vaccine. But the other side of that is it cannot be our only weapon. We need to develop therapeutics because there will be breakthrough cases. No matter how well I vaccinate you, and I've had my third vaccine, so again, I'm pro-vaccine. The bottom line is I cannot 100% build a wall around you. And we need to be developing, and I think we need to ask ourselves, why have there not been therapeutics, better therapeutics? Considering we have therapeutics dealing with colds, which is a form of corona. We have therapeutics dealing with influenza, which is a form of corona. That's, I think, the next big thing is, in other words, vaccinate, but also have the therapeutics. So if there is a breakthrough case, where people will not be afraid. And if we can develop therapeutics, I think you're going to see a major change in the world of tourism, because then it'll be go to a pharmacy or go to a doctor and they give you some medication and you're not going to die. You might be in bed for a day, like with the flu, but okay, not the end of the world. So I think that's really an issue. The other issue is really on some level, and I'm starting writing a book on this. In much of the Western world, there's a disparaging of police and taking away money from the police. And we see that in the United States, as an example, the 10 most anti-police cities have the highest level of crime. and the highest level of murders. So the U.S. has a very high level of murder, but if you take away Washington, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Portland, then the United States, out of 200 countries, is 188. In other words, it's one of the lowest levels of crime of any country in the world, much lower than Europe. It's only in those 10 cities that we have so much crime. And so that's something I think around the world we have to focus on, especially in the Western world. Europe, United Kingdom, United States, in those cities, there are problems of crime. There's no way of denying them. Interestingly enough, guns are a problem, but guns don't really do the issue as much. What has been a bigger problem has been knifing, especially in the United Kingdom and Europe. And the number one murder of in many cases is people being hit in the groin by knees. And we cannot outlaw knees, and we're certainly not going to eat only with spoons. So I think this is a real issue for the tourism world. How do we create safety, health, and security? And without that emphasis, tourism will not recover. At least that's my humble opinion.
Yeah, no, and all of this plays a role, and security and safety was an issue I think especially you are an expert in and dealt with for many, many years. And COVID is really on its own term. And of course, because of COVID, because of the economic situation, the security and safety becomes more critical because people with have less money, they're getting more desperate to maybe commit crimes or mug people because they need the money. And it becomes a lawless world. You know, we need to get out of this situation, and the vaccine and what you're saying is definitely so important for us to not lose our sanity over the situation. And you can see the example here in Hawaii for when tourism reopened, people come back in big numbers and everyone was surprised. Now, COVID became again a major concern with an outbreak, so people are staying home. Now the flights are empty. So it goes up and down.
Are people going to Hawaii now, or are they not going to Hawaii?
It's I think from our peak, we're down like 35 to 40% now. So all the flights are operating, but they're again empty. So not empty, maybe half full. And
your governor would like it to be empty, right? He'd like it down to 10%.
Not only the governor, but apparently also the head of the tourism promotion board, what's called the Hawaii Tourism Authority, Mr. DeFries, who runs this organization. He really doesn't want tourism. It's got I think we probably.
It's not a promotion board. It's a Hawaii promotion board.
Yes, it's all about the Aina and the land and the culture. And I understand it's very important to protect culture. It's very important to be environmentally responsible and protect the land, especially in an area like Hawaii. But it's also important to keep the economy going. And keeping the economy going, what kept Hawaii alive for so many, almost 100 years now, or more than 100 years, that is now pretty much ruled out, and no one is really looking at COVID and what COVID is doing. So the Hawaii Tourism Authority's only intention seems to be to lower tourism wherever they can, make it more complicated, raising rates for national parks. People are talking about charging tourists even going to the beach. And we only want responsible and rich tourists to come here. How are we going to do it? No one knows.
So it's only going to be rich tourists. That doesn't come across a little bit as elitism and what they call, latte liberals. I mean, I was thinking, there was a session that we had about global warming, but everybody comes to Hawaii either by a cruise ship or an airplane. So both of those have a very big carbon footprint. So should we just isolate Hawaii and say that only maybe one plane a day can arrive and no cruise ships? What will happen?
You may have some friends here who agree with you on this, Peter. I'm certainly not one of them, but there are people here, and it looks like our tourism board, the Hawaii Tourism Authority, is pretty much, of course, not one plane a day, but less planes a day. Apparently no one cares if the hotels are only running half capacity and cannot afford to continue running. And when you go to the hotels and try to talk to the GMs and to everyone in charge, there's no comment. Everyone is scared of something. It's a very strange situation.
Yeah. Do you think that will take place in other parts of the world? Do you think that's going to be true, say, for the United Kingdom or for places in Africa? Are they going to say, okay, let's just close down tourism and make it impossible to get here, and that way we'll protect the local culture? Or do you think they're looking for some way of economic viability where they're saying, look, we can't live in the 18th century. People have to eat, and we're in the 21st century.
Peter, I don't see it happening anywhere else. We're part of the United States here. There is financial backing, and everyone knows this. So if there's no tourism industry, everyone hopes the government maybe steps in. I don't know what Mr. De Vries is thinking. I cannot read his mind, but it's clearly, he's clearly not speaking out for tourism. He has been speaking out against tourism. And that through the entire crisis. So even if there was no tourism, the Hawaii Tourism Authority didn't think about a way to maybe stimulate tourism again. So at least we have some kind, maybe long-term travel, business travel, or something. No, they were still debating how to lower tourism. So,
and how are they going to? How are they going to, in this non-tourism world, in a place that lives on tourism? What's going to happen to all the people who lose their jobs?
Exactly. A lot of people did lose their job. A lot of the people who did lose their job left the island. So you find now help wanted signs everywhere because there's not enough qualified people to do the job. So when you go to a hotel, don't expect people to smile at you. Everyone is overworked. There's not enough. Everyone is scared. So it's not really a good situation. And where this goes, we don't know.
Your nickname used to be Aloha. But what's the opposite of aloha?
Well, let me tell you this. There is a board member in the HTA who wants to get rid of the word aloha. And so if we do this, this is our brand mark. Everyone knows Hawaii and aloha. So if now HTA says, no, saying aloha is not what we wanted to do anymore, or we make it illegal, I don't know to what extreme they're going to go, then what do we have left as a branding?
Maybe the new name will be Gahoma. Instead of aloha, it'll be Gahoma.
Yeah, no, it is a very serious situation, and there's really no one in charge of anything, and no one knows what to do.
Well, luckily for world tourism, it seems to be that's only a small part of the world's tourism, which is Hawaii. But I think other parts of the world are going to be looking to recover. And I think most of the world is going to understand that without tourism, they're going to be in a very bad situation. Lots of unemployment, lots of poverty. Of course, we're also dealing with terrible inflation because of lots of mistakes that have been made in the last 7 or 8 months, including closing down of pipelines and just one tragedy after another. And that's going to be a real problem. And of course, today, the United States Homeland Security did admit that more than 20% of the illegal immigrants coming in across the border in Mexico have COVID. So this is now, an official statement, and they are being transported around the United States without testing. And so that's going to be a really big problem. And so on one level, we have to get control of the disease. I'm a strong proponent for therapeutics. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't get vaccinated, but we also need to have, no doctor can only have one tool in his bag. We need to have multiple tools. And that means we have to have both vaccines and therapeutics. Both are essential. And then we have to start getting back in training people in customer service and learning how to smile and not overworking our people. Too many people in the world of tourism receive low salaries, and that doesn't create good customer service. And so I think in a sense, maybe the tourism industry could use this break from last year to this year as a chance to really reassess what's wrong and how can we build a better tourism industry, a more, not just sustainable, but a tourism industry that's democratic, that allows people to travel, and not only for the rich. It shouldn't only be for the latte liberals, but it should be for everyone. And let's find a way to create tourism that gives people jobs and dignity. And too often, I think in tourism, we gave jobs, but we didn't give enough dignity.
Well, Peter, there's a lot more to talk. We won't be able to resolve this here today.
No, we won't. But maybe if we were, we should run for president in 2024, and bring fresh ideas to the world of at least the United States, if not the world.
Peter, I would vote for you. I'm allowed to vote, but I'm not allowed to run for president.
Right.
So you have to do that.
Yeah, I can do it. I was born here. You were. All right. Well, I don't think I'm going to start my campaign right away, but I am looking forward to hearing all about your train trip, which I think is really going to be fascinating, and all about how that is. And then the following week, I'm going to be in Latin America, both in Costa Rica and in Colombia, meeting with chiefs of police from across the continent, from across Latin America. And that's really exciting because this is the first opening of Latin America, again, really thinking about how are they going to come back and bring tourism back as a major economic tool for that part of the world. So, there's 22 countries in Latin America, so there's lots to be done.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, I assume I'm going to talk to you in the next day or so.
Yes, you will be.
And we're going to continue this.
Okay. And not only, and I'm not going to say Gahoa, I'm going to say aloha.
All right, Peter. I say so too. Aloha. And everyone who is watching it now and you want to watch this session again, you can either go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/eToberNews, or click on any of the links you find on our website, or just keep on watching on eToberNews. We're running this now 24/7, and I'm sure this session will come up again shortly. We're going to repeat it usually for 1 or 2 days.
And there's no need to go to sleep. You can just stand in front of your computer and sleep while you're watching.
Absolutely.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.